Welcome! You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed 5-minute podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
It's the I'm Wired to Inspire Mentor from Afar with Nicole, the inspiration specialist.
Attributes, that means gifts you were born with. Then you got to marry that to aptitude. That means now you got to educate and train those gifts. That's why you read and study and go to school, for your aptitude to be increased. And then your altitude means you got to change the level of associations you are in. You know, it's amazing. When you change your aptitude, you normally want to change your altitude. Leaders choose their friends based on their destination. And one of the keys to developing leadership is you have to appreciate the fact that no one is responsible for your life except you. I had to take charge of my life as a teenager. And at age 13, I discovered who I was. I became a problem to the whole family. My mom used to say to me, she'd say, "You are a different boy. You are a different child." But something happened to me at age 13. I discovered myself. Different was simply meaning you don't think like the rest of the kids. That's what it means. And remember, thinking is belief system being exposed. And therefore, I married my attitude and my attributes, and my aptitude changed, and I began to study for a different reason. And suddenly my altitude changed. I started attracting different types of friends. By the way, you know, an eagle, you see, the other animal that God identifies himself with, I studied eagles intensely. I got a whole series on eagles, because you must study to understand life. And I discovered what eagles, they said eagles can fly up to 3 to 4 miles in the sky. That's almost high as some jet planes. And do you know that when an eagle is flying at top flight, they say that if an eagle meets another bird in top flight, it has to be another eagle. Because they're the only birds that can fly at that altitude. So, here's a thought to take back to work with you. If you keep running into pigeons and ducks and tobacco doves, you are flying too low. Do you know what a pigeon is? Eagles never flock. You only find them one at a time. So if you keep attracting a gang of people around you at work, everybody want to bring gossip to you, you know, cackling, you are in bad company. That's why I really want you to give yourself a big hand today, because to come here, you must be an eagle. You left the pigeons back at the office.
What you just heard was a message from Dr. Myles MUNROE called The 10 Attitudes for Leadership and Development. Before I come in, the next thing you're about to hear is a piece from Pastor Michael Todd, and the name of the message is called Marked.
Mark you, but then send you into a place that doesn't look like where you're going to be. And that's the battle, because many times our expectation and our experience don't match. about how I'm supposed to be a CEO and philanthropist and I'm supposed to pay for people's stuff, but I'm sitting here looking at all this debt, and God said, I'm the miracle worker. I need your obedience. And so I just wanted somebody in here to realize that if you're marked, and I know there's a lot of people in this room, that you're going to be anointed before your position. And so the scripture I want to give you is Proverbs 3:5, to trust in the Lord in this waiting process with all your heart. And don't depend on your own understanding. It's not going to make sense. Well, I just can't figure it out. Like, if God really wanted me to be this, then why? You're not going to be able to figure it out. He's looking for a heart posture, not a plan from you. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. Acknowledge God in everything you do. And then it says he will direct your path. Every marked person in the place, just say it with a little more faith. Say, I'm marked. Yes, coming. If you're marked, let me give you another thing. You become the answer to a problem. See, so David goes back to the field. He's doing the last thing God told him and spending time in the presence. I want you to see how pivotal this is. Like, some people, I get questions all the time. Well, Pastor Mike, what do you do if you just feel like you don't know what to do? Do the last thing you know God told you to do. And spend time in the presence of God. That's what David did. He didn't have a GPS or a map to his purpose. He just was doing the last thing, and watch what happens. He becomes the answer to a problem. Saul is now being tormented by evil spirits in the palace. And you got to read 1 Samuel 16, 17, 18. You just got to read the whole thing. I don't got time to go through it all. But he's being tormented by evil spirits in the palace. And one of his assistants says, hey, maybe we should get a guitar player in here or a skilled musician to be able to torment these evil spirits. And then one of the guys was like, well, do you know anybody? And he was like, yeah, Jesse has a boy named David. And he be in the field all the time just, and he be wailing, and so I think we can go get him. And now watch, David did not fill out an application to go to the palace. He did not use connections to get in the palace, because he was doing the last thing God told him and spending time in the presence and perfecting what was in his hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? They sent for him. What are you trying to say, Pastor Mike? When you are doing what God told you to do, you will never have to vie for your position. They will send for you. Yeah, I know that don't work with the ambitious culture that we got. The alert line and your hustle and all this other stuff. They'll send for you. They sent for David. And I want you to see this, because David did not come to the palace with nothing. He came as the answer to a problem. And some of us are sitting here so deficient in skills God gave us. You don't even work on it no more. If he couldn't play, he wouldn't have even been invited to the palace. Do you understand what I'm saying? But in the pasture, he was working on what was in his hands. And he went to the palace. Now watch, the place that he already knew he was called to be in. He did not go as a king or a prince. He went as a servant. What are you trying to say, Pastor Mike? God will allow you to taste your future, not as a person of interest, but as somebody to serve. And many times we get frustrated because we know we're marked and we're supposed to be on the platform and we're supposed to go to this height and we're supposed to be there. And God said, yeah, and I want you to go there and I want you to serve somebody. You ain't going to get the mic. You're not going to be in the meetings. You're going to, and see, this is the thing. The platform is just a raised position of what I would do down here. If you don't do it down here, God's not going to allow you to do it up here. If you're not nice down here, He's not going to allow you to be nice up here. If you want love down here. Do you hear what I'm saying to you today? And so God is telling you, He said, I need you to go ahead wherever you are to be the answer to the problem. Some of you right now need to go back and serve people and ask for nothing. Ain't no connections in this. It's because God's moving and molding and making my heart right now. I don't need your approval because I was approved in private. I I don't need your title or your position because I'm anointed before I'm positioned. And what am I doing right now? I'm becoming the answer to a problem. Can I give you a secret? David was qualified for another level of promotion because he tormented what tormented his leader. You want to know how to go to another level? Find somebody that you call a leader and torment what torments them. And God says, that's the heart I'm looking for. That's the person. The children, high school students, torment what torments your parents. Them dishes is always dirty. And you hate raising hands. Like everybody, I hate them too. But make up in your mind that anytime there's a dish, I'm gonna torment what torments my single mother who works 2 jobs and tries to come here. I'm gonna watch what God will do in your life. That boss that you don't like and does not like you. Do you hear what I'm saying? And you're like, Pastor Mike, no. She is ugly and she is mean and I can't stand her. And like, is that person? I want you to go ask them on Monday, what is your biggest challenge? And don't ask for a pay rate because God's trying to work on your heart. So if you're marked, you're going to be the answer to a problem. If you're marked, let me give you another point. Your opportunity is going to be wrapped in obedience. See, David now is tormenting all of Saul's demons, and he's got dual duty. He's humble enough to be working in the palace serving, but still coming back and helping his father with the sheep. And remember, I told you, you'll be sent for. So one day he comes to his dad's house because humility is a big thing to God and it's a big thing to David. And so he's there and his dad says, hey, son, could you do me a favor? Your brothers are off at war right now. Could you take them some grilled cheese sandwiches out there to them and the captains? And for most of us, we would fail that test because I'd hit my dad back with like, yo, you already know, bro, I play at the palace. I mean, you want me to be Uber Eats for my brothers? Get out of here, bro. Like, get somebody else to do this. But David was lowly in spirit. And he said, I can still have a position or a platform that people look at, but I'll still do what I used to do. And this is the thing. A lot of us think we're regressing when we go back and do things that we used to do, but a lot of times it's a test to see, do you still have the humility that you once had? You used to work in the parking lot, but you won't get, it's too cold. Oh! You used to serve at an old folks' home, but now the way they eat makes you nauseous. Oh, come on. And you say, no, God goes from glory to glory to glory, but you've been at the same level. Maybe it's because you won't go back and do things that you once did. And David shows us that his opportunity is wrapped in obedience. What are you saying, Pastor Mike? If David would not have been obedient to his father to go take those grilled cheese sandwiches to his brother, he would have never met Goliath. He would have never met his opportunity for elevation. He would have never even been anywhere around. He would have been somewhere playing the guitar, thinking God was using him, but his purpose was wrapped up in some other place. And how many things are you missing because you just won't obey God? It don't make sense. He said, keep visiting that person. He was like, I don't even like that person. And God said, you visit it. It's not about the person. It's about your obedience. Well, Pastor Mike, God keeps telling me to serve at the Boys and Girls Club. I don't even like sports. Your husband is there. That woman said, oh, hey, glory to God. Hey. Somebody at University City just got this. They Googling, where's the nearest Boys and Girls Club? See what I'm finding out is that obedience is never about the other person. It's about God getting your heart.
And now it's time for the third and final message today in the Mentor from Afar compilation. And this is a message from Pastor TD Jakes. And it's entitled, There is No Shortcut to Excellence.
Work goes down before the building goes up. Now, imagine his neighbor across the street is building twice as fast. Because his neighbor across the street, he just started building straight up. Didn't dig it out. Just start building up. I realize now that there wasn't so much difference in the soil. The difference was in the prep. I used to say one man built his house on sand and the other man built it on the rock, but I overlooked the fact that the guy who built on the rock did not build on the rock because the rock was there. He built on the rock because he dug to the rock. So you can build a rocky house in a sandy place. I used to think this was a soil test. But when I realized that the man who built on the rock had to dig to hit it, I realized that this test is not about soils. Neither one of them found the soil conducive to build what they were trying to build. It's just that one man was willing to dig down and the other man was impatient and wanted to go up. See, the guy who built the house on the sand had the option of building it on the rock if he was going to put the discipline in to dig down deep enough. Somewhere beneath the sandy soil, there will always be rock, but most people don't have the discipline to deal with the sandy stuff to get to the rock in you. If you don't come pre-packaged, they get rid of you because it's too much work. The problem then is not the conditions, it's the discipline. Both of them stepped into soil that was not conditioned for what they were building. One of them dug through it because he understood the power of foundation, and the other one didn't think it mattered. That the soil wasn't ready for what his vision had seen. So, when we are doers of the word, we will dig for the rock.
So guys, what you just heard was a compilation of 3 people that I have listened to recently that have really done some type of mentoring for me in some capacity. Typically every week when I do Mentor from Afar, I highlight a particular person. But this week I was led to do something different, and I'm just going to go with that as it happens. And in this particular time, these 3 things that I heard really impacted me, and I just felt like I needed to compile them and share them with you guys. So the first thing you heard was Dr. Myles Munroe. I actually featured him in the King Me series in fall of 2017. So if you'd like to hear more of one of his sermons that have impacted me greatly as a mentor, you can definitely hit the link below this podcast and you can find that episode. I think it's episode 4 of King Me. It's day 4. And you'll get to hear some more information from him. And also, each person that you heard today, I've put the entire sermons underneath this link as well. And you can get those as well. You can see the whole thing, because everything you're hearing today, of course, is just a few snippets. But I just wanted to jump in and say a couple of things real quick. I call this Eagles, Elevation, and Excellence. And those 3 words just came on my spirit because there's so many things happening right now where people are questioning their worth. A lot of people are really going through major life changes and things are abruptly ending. Things are abruptly beginning. Things are abruptly changing. Things are, in some situations, feeling unbearable because there appears to be no change at all. And I just felt that sometimes when we hear about the process and our mindset, it can literally catapult us into something else. And that is where I have been this entire 2018. Like, it's just been a whole thing. And, I talk about this all the time. One of my favorite lines, real G's move in silence like lasagna. So what I love about this particular time and season is that for those of us who are, still just kind of laying low, you know what I'm saying? And God is just doing amazing, incredible things that the world does not know about. You just keep doing what you're doing. Because if you listen to all 3 of the people who spoke earlier, you will have a great understanding that everything requires a process. When we were listening to Myles Munroe about the eagle, you have to pay attention to who you're hanging with. You know what I'm saying? You have to pay attention. And not only that, you also have to take the time out to assess yourself to decide, is this still good for me or is this not good for me any longer? And then when you go to elevation, and honestly, that I heard that this week and it was so incredibly moving to me. It really just did something to me, because I personally know and understand, what it's like when you get into those situations where, it seems like God is taking you backwards. You thought God was going to do one thing and he did something completely different. And when he was talking about David and humbling yourself and, feeling like, I'm going backwards, I thought it was going to be one thing and it ended up being completely different. That happens. You know what I'm saying? And that's actually Pastor Michael Todd. He was actually visiting, I believe, Elevation Church. And he did that word and it's called marked. Or essentially he's talking about being marked for greatness. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking about that as well. I'm like, my God, like all of these things kind of, correlate. They all go together, because again, if you don't have the right mindset, you're not even going to understand if you feel like God has you in a low place. You're not even going to understand. You may be like, I don't want to do this again. I vowed I would never do this again. I'm not going back to that. And then you find yourself going back to that, not realizing it's a test. So some of you listening, you are just being tested right now, and you have to pass the test. Believe you me, I'm walking it out with you. We have to pass these tests, because if we don't, we can genuinely miss God. And what God wants us to understand, what he wants us to know, is that when we are doing what he has called us to do, when he has set the tone for us to do something incredible, to do something amazing, we have to realize that even as dope as you are, as great as he made you to be, even in that process, you may be connected with somebody or with people who may not want to fight to get to your rock. They may not want to go through all of the stuff to see the diamond in the rough. Some people just want something perfect. They want it to already have it together, and they'll toss you aside because you don't have that picture of it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to go back and you have to really assess the things that God may have presented to you in seed form that you may have tossed away because you didn't want to be bothered with watering it. And like TD Jake said that, when the other person was building a house, it was very expeditious and it was moving so quickly and everything was so great, but it was on faulty ground. So I don't know who this is for. Again, like I said earlier, but guys, listen to me. There are the three things that I want you to remember. I want you to remember that when you are soaring, when you are flying, it's going to be lonely sometimes. It's not going to be a whole gang of people with you. And most times you will be probably by yourself. And that is something that you have to be okay with. And then when you get to the next phase of this thing and you're talking about elevation, you have to really give yourself the opportunity to just be. And just be okay with the fact that wherever God has you, if it's not glamorous, if it's not cute, if it's not picture worthy, you have to trust that there's some glam going on, but it may not be exposed yet. God could just still be developing it. And that's what I absolutely love about this season. There's so many of you listening. You have been tossed away, honey. Trust me. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. You weren't good enough. The shiny thing was better. Okay. There are people who denied you jobs. They denied you opportunities. They didn't want to be in a relationship with you. They cut the relationship off, started one with another person. They stopped the business with you, started with someone else. They literally removed themselves from everything you had going on because it wasn't fast enough. They didn't want to do the work. And this is in every area of life. This could even be church members giving you beef. This could be co-workers. This can be partners. This can be all types of people in your life who are not giving you your just due because you don't fit the image. You don't fit what they think you should have. But let me give you a dope word of encouragement right quick, just so that you can understand how God is and who we serve. He knows your funny parts. He knows the parts that are not so attractive. He knows the times that you will be in those places that don't look so great. And he also knows the time when you are not going to look so great. But he is also very aware of those who will love you the way that you are. They will be okay with if you living with this one, or if you at your parents' house, or if you over here check to check, or if you may have the big bossed out house, but you don't know what else to do with your life. It does not matter where you are in your life. The Lord always has a ram in a bush, and he always has somebody that's going to rock with you just like you are. They are not going to make you feel bad for the season that God has you in. And in fact, they're going to encourage you up out of that season into the next one, because that's how God is. God is always coming with the upgrade. The upgrade is not always about the aesthetics. The upgrade is not always about what looks so fantastic. Sometimes the upgrade is somebody who can understand you by your spirit, and they will be in the trenches with you by the spirit. Sometimes it's not going to be all the fanfare, y'all. It's not always about what the world has to say, because many times the world will lead us astray. 10 times out of 10, the world will lead us astray, because that's not our barometer for joy. Now, the world may be the barometer for temporary happiness, but the world is not the barometer for joy. Believe that. God can only do that for us. So I just want to encourage you today, and know that no matter where you are in your life, okay, I want you to remember that God is making you an eagle. God is causing you to elevate, and you will be operating in excellence. So you make sure that whatever it is he's put on your heart to do, no matter if it's in the on and popping glamorous stage, or you on the stage where people overlooking you because they're thinking you're not good enough. He always thinks you're good enough. Okay. And it doesn't matter. Shoot your shot. And do whatever it is God is telling you to do. Don't worry about what you have or what you don't have. Do what God is telling you to do. Do not become inundated with what other people have going on and what it looks like. If they left you, fine. You don't need them. It may feel like you do, but you don't need them. If they don't hit you back, then fine. The Lord gonna send somebody who always want to hit you back. I'm telling you, it's levels and it's process, and it's a hard thing to understand sometimes, but believe you me, when you embrace it, everything changes. And I'm a living witness. Everything will change when you allow God to change you. When you go with the changes of God, it will, trust me, it will totally and completely change your life. When you are genuine about really operating in the way God wants you to operate, it is going to change the very paradigm of your life. It will be a paradigm shift. There will be a mind shift, and everything will begin to flow. But you have to be unafraid to attempt this thing wherever you are. If you used to be with the chickens clucking and now you're with the eagles, and now you got to get acclimated to flying like an eagle, well, then that's fine. You need to figure that out and be okay with not having a whole squad around you. That's perfectly fine. If you are in that place where you have to elevate, but right now everything looks crazy and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I have to do all of these things for people, and you have to serve, well then serve, and you serve with excellence. Because guess what? The best followers make even better leaders, but you have to know how to follow first. And then lastly, when it comes to being excellent, what's in your soil? Make sure that soil is developed. Make sure you're not looking at what it looks like and not actually knowing what it's actually like. Know the soil that you're dealing with, because guess what? You don't want to do anything on faulty ground. You want to do things the way God is telling you to do them, because guess what? That's the hardest thing for us to do while we're human beings on earth. It's always that battle between what our spirit and what the Lord is telling us to do, and what our head and what our mind and what other people, the world, is telling us to do. But trust me when I tell you, when you take that leap of faith and you do that faith walk, one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life, everything will change. Some things will leave, some things will go, but some things will certainly stay, and new things will come. So don't be afraid to shake the tree. Whatever falls, you know it was meant to be there, and whatever is not there is going to grow on there, because the roots are already solid in Christ, and he will make sure you have everything that you need. I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to the inspirationspecialist.life or I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.